What is up, guys? Yandere Neko here, and with this video kicking about, I thought I'd take a stab at it. Do a bit of a live response / reaction. Now, before we even begin, I'm gonna call it right now. Now, I'm using my observation hockey. Just have that future sight. He's gonna pull them extra credits and try to claim the demons are black. Like, if he doesn't do that, I'll be surprised, because I'm assuming that's what But let's get into this.
Frieren Beyond Journey's End. This is a fantasy adventure show about a really old elf girl that's...
Well, I'm not gonna say the physiognomy check fails, but let's move on.
Started airing last year to massive amounts of fanfare, and immediately became one of the most highly regarded anime of recent memory. And having watched it while it was airing, it kinda got stuck in my brain, for almost definitely the wrong reasons. You see, on the surface, it's this very simple adventure story with a chill atmosphere that contemplates life and the importance of cherishing your time with other people. It is a very good first 3 episodes, which establish this deep emotional core to the show. It has some very simple and strong themes that nearly everything feeds into, and our main characters and their journey feels like it's heading towards a satisfying...
I swear, hitting that whiskey better not have messed up the Mo face cap on. Like, good.
If bittersweet conclusion. And yet, on the other hand, I couldn't help but feel like it's basically just a shonen action battle story with a fantasy twist. Our hero is the most powerful person in the world, who spends a significant portion of the show...
Well, technically that's more isekai than shonen. I mean, think of it as shonen, they gotta build the way to the top. Isekai, they're kind of already there. But that's not what this video's about.
Fighting bad guys and proving how badass and cool she is, instead of going on that chill Iyashikei adventure. With the first season even spending what feels like half its runtime on her just going through an elaborate Naruto-esque exam arc. To make it clear, I have problems with the show. I had them while it was airing, but I couldn't quite figure out where they were coming from, because I didn't want to dislike it. After all, it's highly praised and universally beloved and the #1 anime on my anime list by such an absurd amount that it might stay there forever. Its premise and story is right up my alley. I don't even dislike Naruto's exam arc, and I love powerful One Punch Man type characters and fantasy action. So when I was watching it and it wasn't working for me, I feel like maybe I just wasn't getting it. Maybe there's something I was missing.
So when are you actually gonna get to the... See... I would have preferred if he just came out swinging with the point, like the typical video essayist.
So, I left it alone, and I stopped thinking about it. Up until about 9 months later, when I made a tweet about how the demons in the show are kinda weird, and people sent me death threats. So now I get to use the power of my YouTube channel to prove my point.
Didn't you get... Okay. There's only 2 things... Now, I'm admittedly no expert on Frieren lore, but there's only 2 things you really need to learn about the demons in the show. 1, they are inherently evil. They exist to basically cause you pain and suffering. 2, the demons are manipulators. Any attempt at human speech, or appearing good, or what have you, is so they can get you when your back is turned. Got that? They are an anti-civilizational force, like orcs in Lord of the Rings, or chaos in 40K. There's no reasoning with them, or try to negotiate, or reform them. You just destroy them and protect humanity. But let's see his grand revelation, shall we?
So first of all, spoilers for basically the entire story. I'm going to talk about just the show for the first part before getting into the manga, but I do need to talk about the manga. It is important to the video. So if you haven't read it, you're probably not going to want to watch to the end. If you're unfamiliar, the main plot of Frieren is that our main protagonist, Frieren, is a several thousand-year-old elf who is part of the legendary heroes party that killed the Demon King, who once threatened the entire world. This is something that most fantasy adventure stories of this type build towards over the whole show, and here they do it off-screen right at the beginning. And the actual plot is then about Frieren watching the hero's party die of old age because she's an immortal elf, and then at the behest of her last remaining party member, she takes up a new apprentice and forms a new party to head back to the Demon King's lair, in search for the entrance to the afterlife. Frieren and her new party, Fern and Stark, go on this long adventure that retraces the hero's party's steps, stopping at all the towns and villages they originally stopped at, so we can see how things changed over time, or rather, how Frieren didn't. And through this journey beyond Journey's End, we get to see her and her new companions develop and grow, as this emotionless elf girl starts to value the people around her. But like I said, the actual real plot, the bulk of what we spend our time doing, is seeing Frieren and her party fight enemies. Mostly in this kind of episodic adventure format. We head off to a new location, find they have some problem.
That's the pitch of the show now. Actually say your
typically monster related. We then solve said problem by killing said monster and move on to the next location. We might slow down while the party is traveling and meet new characters and go on fun side quests, but that's usually in between these long arcs where they stop dead in their tracks to deal with some big
Now maybe I shouldn't have done this blind so I could have just skipped to his damn point.
And the most popular thing for the party to fight in this show, by far, are demons. Leftovers from the Demon King's army who kind of roam the land and cause problems, and who Frieren just loves killing. Like, a lot. Like,
yes, because it's based as shit. It's like, what, this guy's next video. The Doomslayer loves killing demons. Like, how'd you know?
Maybe the most important thing about her besides being an elf is that she loves killing demons. Her tragic backstory is that demons destroyed her village and killed her people, so she's been specially trained to do magic to be able to kill them. And not only has she killed the most demons out of anyone in history, but she has become so famous for this that her nickname among demons is Frieren the Slayer, which
So she's basically the elf waifu Demon Slayer. I mean Doomslayer. We've established that much.
You didn't know is the Japanese title of the show. So this show is, at least partially, named after this girl's love of killing demons. Because demons are shown to be pure evil. They created an army that nearly...
So you admit they're pure evil. Shown to be at least.
Took over the world after all. They destroyed the villages of seemingly half the characters we meet and wiped out nearly 1/3 of humanity.
So, in summary, destroying them is good.
The main antagonists of this story. They're fantasy villains undeserving of any sympathy who we're told should be killed without mercy.
And if the video ended right there, no one would have a problem with this. But I'm assuming it's not gonna be there. I might just do part 1, depending.
Or well, we're told that. Demons in Frieren are very strange creatures though, right off the bat. Because there is no like evil god or dark magic that really created them like in most fantasy settings. They seemingly don't have any connection to divinity at all. They're just a species of creature, same as everything else. And it's even revealed that they're a product of evolution. So the name demon is really the only connection they have to like biblical demons. They are monsters though, a vague classification in the story that basically just serves as a catch-all for anything you're not supposed to feel bad about killing. Dragons, mimics, big fucking wolf things, they're all monsters, which in the world of Frieren means they're evil, and they dissolve into mana upon death. It's this very video gamey way of basically telling the audience don't worry about it. And
based? Like, is that just based?
Allows the author to paint the world in a clear black and white, as these monsters serve
because it is a clear black
as the fodder enemies we fight week after week. However, even from their introduction, demons are shown to be very different from every other monster we encounter in the story. Most importantly, by being much more intelligent. Dragons are said to be maybe
Intelligence does not mean they're not evil. It's like, okay. I mean,
the second most intelligent of the monsters, but they don't really do much to act like it, and things like mimics and beasts are just completely mindless. It is only in demons that we see actual human intelligence, and quite a lot of it. And when we first see demons in the story, you might be surprised to see that they can express emotions and empathy and kindness. They can speak with humans, and quite eloquently in fact. They seem to be pretty dang human themselves.
yes. And you know what? I hear a lot of dictators who are great speakers. Doesn't mean they weren't evil. Like this idea of, oh, they have emotions and sympathy and stuff. It's like, yeah, they're still evil. I don't care how good of a speech giver they are. If they burn down my village, I'm offing them, you know?
You know, if you talk to any demon on the street, you would most definitely be fooled into thinking they're a race of sentient being, not a monster. And many people are fooled, because it's a trick. The way demons are explained to work in Frieren is a lot like mimics.
So, aren't you just proving what I said in point 2? That any attempt at elegance in human speech is a trick?
The creature that I mentioned they evolved from was apparently something that could replicate human voices and cry for help, getting people to lower their guard to go after it, only to kill them.
So, we established not only are they evil, but any attempt to not appear evil is to kill you when your back's turned. Literally what I said at the beginning of this
so much from that creature
video.
That they are now able to fully replicate humans. They look like humans, aside from the horns in their head. They can act like humans, even expressing complex emotions, and they can speak like humans and understand our language.
And this is in the context of evolving from a mimic-like creature. It's just so they're just more advanced mimics. Therefore, monsters, therefore, killing them is not an issue.
But all in service of being able to kill us. All as part of a deception to lower our guard. As we're repeatedly told that demons are actually nothing more than wild beasts. Savage monsters who will do anything to satiate their desire to kill. This description of demons as wild beasts is actually one that not only Frieren the character gives, but the demons agree with. I mean, in their introduction, one of them looks into the camera and says, yes, we are wild beasts. We just want to kill humans. Frieren is right about us. And
I mean, it's straight from the serpent's mouth at this point. I mean, there's probably gonna be someone annoyed by the constant pausing and commentary, but I mean, 7 minutes in and he actually hasn't made a case for the demons.
And their actions largely align with this, as in pretty much every subsequent encounter we have with them, they are lying or killing humans, usually resulting in Frieren stepping in to live up to her nickname.
So, what's the issue? You gonna cry about the Doomslayer next?
So the story makes it incredibly clear very early on and tells us over and over.
You know what? I take back what I said. He doesn't pass the physiognomy check. Well, I mean, technically I said nothing about it, but
again, that demons are evil. Monsters that kill and eat people without remorse. Any bit of emotion or empathy they might show is just a part of their deception. So, if you see a demon on the street, you should kill them, because they
based. If he stopped at that, it would be based.
They're definitely going to kill you. Frieren actually wants to go so far as to eradicate them entirely. But
based?
The problem with this is that while the story is telling us they are mindless, immoral killing machines that warrant the protagonist wishing for their destruction,
does this mean he's finally getting on to his
shows us something very different. And I'll just go over a few examples. The introduction to demons in the story begins with a group that is trying to make peace with the residents of a town that Frieren is visiting. Frieren actually sees them be welcomed into the town and moves to attack them before getting arrested, which is where we get the scene of her calling them wild beasts. And our introduction to the demon's trickery, which proves Frieren right, is when during the peace talks, one of the demons is threatened by someone over the death of their son, to which the demon responds by saying they too lost a father, which spares their life. Yet later, when it's just two demons alone together, one of them asks what a father even is, and they don't know. This is very clearly meant to be a reveal for the audience, an almost comically straightforward one, because again, immediately after this, the demon sits down and tells the audience that they only speak human language to hunt and kill. But at the same time, with that knowledge,
So then he's not just a lying scumbag, but still a demon, and it's still good to put them down.
this is a scene that completely baffles me, because why would the other demon even bother to ask this question? One, this means that demons seemingly don't have their own language and just use human speech to talk to each other, even when humans aren't around, which directly contradicts them telling us there's only one reason they speak like humans. Two, if language is just a tool used to deceive, and they already picked up what a father was based on context clues, well enough to be able to use it in a conversation, why would they care what it means? The word has already served its purpose. They've already figured out how to use it effectively. To inquire about it further means they have a willingness to understand human language.
Hear me out. One, either a younger demon, less experienced, doesn't fully... Hear me out. Younger demon, not fully experienced, can understand that, hey, this father, guys, is an imprudent word to manipulate humans without fully knowing what it means. Or two, another possible explanation, a clunky way of showing that they're lying scumbags. Like, that's one of the two, a clunky scene, or less experienced, but smart enough to know that the word father's probably important. Your choice.
Beyond just deception and out of genuine curiosity, which also directly contradicts what the demon tells us. In that same chapter, actually, the big...
This guy... Ladies and gentlemen, your average media literacy person.
Flashback we're given to drive the nail in the coffin that...
Not that I'm some, genius or whatever, no, I'm some freaking artist. But, it's like the bell curve meme. You have the low end, demon bad, must die. The high end of intelligence, demon bad, must die. Then you have, your midwit media literacy people. Actually, demons, it's like, my guy.
That demons are evil begins with a kid demon who killed a child. The hero's party wants to spare the demon, despite Frieren saying to kill it, because the demon begs for its mother. But despite her wishes, they let it live, and after enough time passes that the town takes the demon in, it kills the mayor and offers his child as a replacement.
So in other words, they shouldn't have taken the demon in.
Which is a terrible offer, so they get obliterated. Once again, begging for their mother before dying. Frieren asks why it says this when demons don't understand the concept of families, and it replies, because it stops you from killing me. And
Wait. So, this thing right here, this line, completely destroys your argument about the father line. Oh, why would a demon ask why the word father is important? Your not even a minute apart, and your argument crumbles into dust.
Again,
fuck, maybe that law school shouldn't have kicked me out.
This is a reveal for the audience.
Well, not kicked me out. Never mind.
It's just laying it on thick that demons lie and kill, and that's it. But importantly, it shows they lie out of self-preservation. In fact, that's the most common way we see them deceiving people, begging for their life. which is also strange because we're explicitly told they are being deceptive by doing this, yet they are genuinely begging for their life.
Yes, evil begs for its life so it can commit more evil. What is hard to understand about this? Child begged for its life, burned down the village, then begged for its life again after it was at death's door. This is not a hard concept to grasp.
They genuinely don't want to die and are acting afraid of dying in order to not die. But if that's not enough, demons show
Brother, like, I'm autistic, but this is something else, man.
actual genuine emotion all the goddamn time. They are often described as prideful and arrogant. They feel genuine excitement and anger and shock and fear in ways that cannot be explained.
So, wait, you start with pride and arrogance, to vices, to negatives associated, generally negative emotions.
Explained by them just imitating humans to get an advantage, as it is so often not beneficial in any way. With demons calling Frieren a bitch or getting mad at her when she kills them, or expressing some emotion when humans aren't even present, sometimes even in their inner monologue. Going even one step
Gosh, I did not have enough whiskey before starting
one of the
this.
first big fights in chapter 20, the conclusion to the demons pretending to make peace with the town, ends with one of the demons getting cut in half by Stark, and the other demon crying out their name, which gives Fern enough.
Wait, the demons that attempted to make peace with the town, only for that to be a lie? Those demons? Those the demons we're talking about? Those are the same demons, yes?
Of an opening to kill them. The way the anime frames it makes it seem like they might just be calling for their ally to help them, but they do cry out after the other demon is dead, while looking in their direction. After it's already been established, they can sense when another demon dies. So this feels almost intentionally written, like the demon is crying out because their ally died.
And the ally was a POS, like, oh no, the demon that we've proven to be evil, that we've proven to be a manipulator, is upset that another evil manipulator is dead. You're just not proving your case at all.
And it's made pretty clear the crying out is what drops their guard and gets them killed, which looks to me like a pretty clear-cut expression of empathy. Now,
empathy with evil, like, what is, are you, I'm at a loss for words. His argument just...
Now, you could maybe argue that the demons have just gotten so good at mimicking humans that they do so involuntarily, but if this is involuntary,
I would probably.
Often completely detrimental and ingrained within the demons so deeply they even do it when nobody else is around and cannot stop doing it to save their life, then there is functionally no difference between the mimicked emotion and the real thing.
Doesn't matter because it only comes out as a way to trick humans so they can attack them when their back's turned. Like, it doesn't... We've established any emotion they show is trickery, right? Yes, you agree with that. That means it doesn't matter what emotion they show.
Though perhaps the strongest contradiction in the demon's nature is that they do actually have some sense of morality. The one thing you would think they obviously don't. Because we're also told that...
I'm just waiting for this example. I'm gonna be surprised. I mean, you know what? It points to it. He didn't pull an extra credits and claim they're black people. I'll give that to him. Points to you, pal. But this isn't much better.
That to demons, one's mana level is a source of pride. and almost all demon hierarchies are simply built on who has the most mana.
Well, pride's a sin, so I don't care if demons show pride.
So a technique that Frieren has mastered to be effective at killing demons is to suppress her mana at all times, to appear to have a low amount, to trick a demon into fighting her so she can kill them. It's something she's even taught Fern since pretty much the beginning. This is already interesting because it directly mirrors how demons trick humans with words to kill them. And
oh my gosh. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Like, again, it's as he established at the very beginning of the video, and how he established himself. These demons in Frieren are the anti-civilizational force. They are orcs from Lord of the Rings. They are chaos from 40k. Like, who cares what tactics you use to put them down? They are the evil attacking humanity. They're the space bugs from Starship Troopers, if you prefer. Although the bugs there were, actually not terribly more complex. They were just a filthy allegory. They were just an allegory for filthy communists, but they're the space bugs from Starship Troopers, right? They're just an evil force that exists to basically kill you. It literally is just 40k. You are human, you are good, they are bad, they want you dead, they are for you, who cares what you do to them?
it comes across as Frieren playing by their rules to get an advantage, literally using that arrogance the demons are described as having against them. But the more interesting part is that
yes, abusing someone's arrogance and pride, a negative character trait to make them fall, is good.
when that demon from earlier, the one who cried out at their ally dying, learns that Fern was concealing her mana, they call her a coward. They are visibly disgusted by it, because they...
Who cares if a demon shows disgust? Like, no, who am I kidding? I grew up on the age of Xbox Live. Are you retarded? Oh no, the Bing that burns down human villages doesn't like that I'm hiding my power level? Who cares what she thinks?
Again, demons are proud of their mana and think...
And pride is generally assumed as a negative trait to have, so go on.
Concealing it is a lowly thing to do.
Not if it owns the demons.
So the demons' morality might not align with ours. They're still totally okay with killing after all, but they must have some sense of morality to believe concealing mana to trick them is wrong.
Who cares? Didn't we already establish that they basically exist to cause humans pain and suffering? Like, who cares if they're failed by trickery when they themselves are deceivers?
There is no reason they would react this way if they didn't. A truly immoral being would not think there is such a thing as an action that is wrong. And there isn't even an explanation of this being part of their mimicry because it's something only demons care about. So right now, I'd like to take a tangent to discuss a different story that isn't Frieren, but it's one that Frieren very obviously takes a lot of inspiration from, because it's the story most fantasy series take inspiration from, because it's the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, please, bless me if you take on Lord of the Rings.
J.R.R. Tolkien's...
And I'm not even like, well, I was as a kid, but I'm not like a super, major Tolkien artist. So if there's a final lore point I get wrong, sue me. But I guarantee you, his take on Lord of the Rings is gonna be the, dumbest shit I've heard.
Fantasy book series is fairly famous for having pretty definitive morality.
Based.
Characters that are depicted as unambiguously good or evil.
Well, I mean, there are finer points with the whole Catholic inspiration of the book. Take Boromir, for example. A man who, on paper, is this bastion of all that's good. Strong, charming, charismatic leader, beloved by his people, but horribly tempted by the ring and by his desire to protect the kingdom of Gondor. Like, there are characters that, while yes, it's very clear that there's a good and an evil, the people who are good are still tortured and broken and not as good as they can be, or not their ideal selves. Granted, there's more scholarly people that can talk about Tolkien's heavy Catholic inspiration, but
on the side of
that's
light
what
or dark.
his
With
take is.
this, it portrays some races as entirely on one side.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but aren't orcs technically humans and elves corrupted by evil, so they're not necessarily a race as much as they're literally, just bad. The evil, like a perversion of another race.
The most common of which being orcs. They are human-like creatures who are bred for war by various dark armies, including Sauron's. They are pure evil, existing only to kill and
Yes, they are humans and elves corrupted by evil.
Destroy and oppose the forces of good. Their purpose
This is not a hard concept.
in the story, much like the demons in Frieren, is solely to be an antagonist
My
to our
motion
heroes
cap
that
is
they
still
can kill
on.
lots of without remorse. However, it's important to note that the evilness of the creatures in Middle-earth,
Yeah,
if
who
you really
cares?
get into it, all come from someone called Morgoth, who is the fantasy equivalent of Satan. And
So, the orcs are Satan worshippers.
I mean that
Really not arguing your case here.
literally. J.R.R. Tolkien was a devout Catholic and modeled The Lord of the Rings heavily after his own religion. Morgoth is literally meant to be a stand-in or representation of Satan, a fallen.
One fucking second. I swear to fuck, if my motion capture isn't working, I'm gonna. I actually don't know what I'll do. Ah, fuck, I think it's
angel who
frozen.
corrupts those
Is frozen? Ah,
around him, and
Fuck
is
it.
responsible for most of the evil in the world. As the creatures Morgoth and later Sauron control are almost all evil because of this corruption. Basically every
Yeah,
evil,
just
intelligent
ended.
character in the novels, from Saruman to Grima Wormtongue, were not evil to begin with.
Yeah,
They've simply
fuck
been
the
turned
motion
evil
capture
over
then.
time. Some by choice, others through torture or
whatever.
pondering their orbs too long. Even the giant flaming demon Balrog that Gandalf fights is described as being a lesser angel that has simply been turned. Hell, Sauron himself was corrupted. The only creatures that are described as being totally 100% evil from birth are beings created by Morgoth, who we're told are evil because they don't have souls. This is something that also comes directly from Tolkien's Catholic theology, by the way. This idea that evil cannot make, only mock. Satan/Morgoth cannot create anything with a soul, because to be born with a soul means you're a blank slate, and blank slates are good by default, so only God/Eru has the power to make that. Satan/Morgoth can only corrupt those beings. To make something evil by default, they basically have to be a homunculus with no soul or sentience.
So, I mean,
So when we get to orcs, the most basic and simple and one of the oldest and most influential evil fantasy creatures, J.R.R. Tolkien encountered a problem, a moral dilemma, where in many of the stories they show up in, orcs are able to speak.
one sec. Now,
They're able
I'll
to make
deal with
decisions,
the
express
mocap
emotions.
later.
Treebeard describes them as participating in orcish mischief. And I mean, they still kill and eat people. They still don't have any human morality, but they understand what morality is and consider some actions to be right or wrong. So just on the basis of all that, they must be sentient. They must have a soul. And when the books treat
Doesn't
them
mean
as
they're good.
unsympathetic monsters that are killed in the thousands, you can see where Tolkien had an issue. Because remember, all of the other evil creatures are corrupted and are thus given the chance to change. They have the choice to become good again, to fight this corruption, and many do. Several evil characters in the novels get redemption.
Well, I'd argue Boromir was... Well, I argued to myself that on paper, he was actually very much an ideal man, if but broken and tortured by his desire by the ring and his desire to protect Gondor. William Tongue, on the other hand, he's more on the just evil side of
And the ones who
things.
don't typically have some moment where they could repent but choose not to. And because of this, they're all shown at least some amount of mercy until they do something that proves they don't deserve it. Yet the orcs are never given this mercy, especially in the movies where they are just decapitated and bifurcated and mowed down without a second thought.
Wait, you mean in the field of in the heat of battle, we're not trying to... Like, look, I believe in redemption and stuff, but there's a time for battle and there's a time for redemption, and
They're never given the chance
they
to
don't
change.
really mix.
They're never treated with any of the respect the other evil characters are. They're just fodder. The characters
Based.
never even think of the possibility of them
because they're corrupted by evil.
being redeemable. So this became something that really bothered Tolkien. He never explicitly commented on his feelings about it, but he did try very hard to find a possible solution for it, a way to justify the orcs acting and being treated like that, something you can especially see in his responses to letters that fans wrote to him about this subject. He even went out of his way to try and come up with alternate backstories for the orcs that would fix this, but always ran into the same dilemma. In one scenario, the orcs are descended from elves who were tortured and corrupted by Morgoth, but that means they have souls
That's my understanding. Corrupted.
and shouldn't have been killed indiscriminately. In the original scenario, the orcs are created by Morgoth as imitations of elves. But in that case, they shouldn't really be intelligent because that requires sentience and a soul.
Well, I mean, this kind of would go... I mean, take AI, for example. It's soulless, but it can at least mimic intelligence to varying degrees depending on its complexity. I mean, it's not fully there yet, but it's close enough for some people, you know? I mean, excuse me. I've come a bit of a cold, so I have a bit of a cough. So, I mean...
Final
that's not
solution
there.
Tolkien left us with in his notes before passing away was just to essentially canonize all of these different contradictory origins, give each of them in his different stories
That's just kind of a good Chad move, not gonna lie.
and explanations of the world, so that the true nature of the orcs was left mysterious and you wouldn't have to think about it. Though he did tend to prefer the idea that they were corrupted. To quote Tolkien
So my
directly,
understanding is correct.
the origin of the orcs is a matter of debate. Some have called them the Melkorohini, the children of Melkor, who is Morgoth, by the way, they're the same person. But the wiser say nay, the slaves of Melkor, but not his children, for Melkor had no children. Melkor was impotent to produce any living thing, but skilled in the corruption of things that did not proceed from himself, if he could dominate them. But if he had indeed attempted to make creatures of his own in
You know what?
imitation or
I'm giving him to the end of part 1. If he hasn't said anything that can't be easily refuted, I'm
mockery of
ending
the
it
incarnates,
here.
he would, like Aole, only have succeeded in producing puppets. His creatures would have acted only while the attention of his will was upon them, and they would have shown no reluctance to execute any command of his, even if it were to destroy themselves. But
My
the
gosh.
orcs were not of this kind. They were certainly dominating her analysis
Just
of
get to
Tolkien's
the
morality. As figures of corruption, the orcs are opponents in an ideological battle. While other authors incorporate the idea of groups of goblins as warriors, Tolkien is the first to show the monster in the role of a soldier. The orcs have no choice in their role. They are captured, tortured, and changed. The orcs' actions are not excused by their history. They are still violent, vicious threats to the peace of Middle-earth. Yet
So, then there's no issue. Doesn't matter if they're tortured and captured and stuff. it's still not an excuse, because
And knowing their origin does raise disquiet about the fight between the orcs and the other races of Middle-earth. Going back to Frieren, it should be obvious from everything I've set up that we encounter the same dilemma that Tolkien did. If demons are pure evil, they shouldn't really be sentient. And if the demons are sentient, they shouldn't be pure evil. However, demons...
Well, no, you now you're just mixing origins. You're using an argument that already doesn't really work for Lord of the Rings, and putting it in a show in the context of something that's not Lord of the Rings.
And Frieren are shown to be clearly sentient. They're easily more intelligent and inquisitive than even the orcs are. We've seen
sentience does not mean they are good. Hate to break that to
plenty
you.
of evidence of them showing emotion. You can make a strong argument that they express empathy too, and they have a clear-cut sense of morality. So if we handed Frieren to Tolkien and asked him to evaluate it, I strongly believe that he'd think the demons weren't worthy of mindlessly killing.
Except, I'd argue that when they were all beaten down and begging for their lives, that's their chance to repent. And as shown with the example of the demon child, what did she do instead of that mercy? Burnt down a village. Therefore, we know when given a chance to repent, they do the opposite.
They should have a soul,
telling
and
to
any
me?
evilness on their part would be due to a conscious choice or corruption, which could always be reversed. Now, a lot of Tolkien's dilemma is based on his Catholic beliefs, his ideas about unambiguous good and evil and the existence of a soul,